Joining me and Seth Greenberg is Kentucky head coach John Calipari. And John, Seth and I threw out our opinions on what you may be trying to accomplish with this new kind of lineup. So we obviously want to hear it from you. What do you think will be the toughest part of trying to go big with this group?
Try to teach that 1-3-1 that Seth and I have been talking about.
Yeah, call me at midnight. I'm sure I'll take all those phone calls now.
Hey, I've done it a few times, right, Seth?
Yeah, you've done it in practice. Unfortunately, I've watched almost every game you've ever coached, and I've yet to see the 1-3-1 ever played. But you do have the personnel to play it this year, John.
You know, Coach Hall is all after me. Someone else came in and said, you need to play a 1-3-1. We're really long and really big, and to be honest, fairly athletic. It's just that of all the 72 BCS schools, we're the only one that does not have any players, not one, that started any games. So we're the most inexperienced team. So I'm thinking I have to teach more and do less, less offense, less schemes defensively, less out-of-bounds plays, and let these guys just kind of get in the groove before we try to add anything because, like I told my staff, we can't teach everything. What do we want to teach and be good at? That's, if we want to play 1-3-1, then we're playing 1-3-1. We're not playing man 2-3 in a 1-3-1. So, which means I'm not going to play 1-3-1. Go ahead.
Well, hey, Cal, let me ask you something. Everyone's talking about the point guard situation, all the great point guards that you've coached over the last 5 or 6 years. People forget, your Final Four trip with Padilla and Treviso, who are also very, very good players. I don't think the point guard's an issue with your team. Let me ask you how you're going to address. You think about in the last 3 years, Patrick Patterson, Jotz, Miller, Lamb. Those were veteran players that were invested in your program and coached your locker room, taught those freshmen, hey, this is what Coach Cal means when he says this. How are you going to deal with the leadership aspect of this young team this year?
Well, that'll develop. Let me say one thing about point guard. Ryan Harrow is a really good player. Shoot, they have him 14th or 15th in this draft coming up. So it's not like he's a smo. He's just not Derrick Rose. But who is? Who is Derrick Rose? I mean, this kid is more out of the mold of a Brandon Knight, not the most physical, all that, but good skills with the ball and ability to score. We're going to need him to shoot the ball some. He's going to have to take on that role because the guys we've added are slashers and tough athletic kids, but they don't shoot the ball as well as Deron Lamb or Darius Miller. Now, Julius Maize shoots the ball, but, I'm the point guard thing I don't think is going to be that big an issue. But here's what I do with leadership. You talk about captains and all that. Leadership, I believe, develops. So at the first game, the officials are going to go to my team and say, hey, we need the captains. Let's go. And there'll be a couple guys step up, and those are our captains. We don't even talk about it. It all develops.
Now, who are they? Do we know yet?
Andy, you don't even listen to what I say. You just talk. And
he's uncoachable. I got my co-host is uncoachable. They're going to emerge, Coach.
I know, but maybe he's not telling us. That's why.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, Right now, it could be a freshman. I mean, if you asked me last year, it changed. I mean, there were times it was Terrence Jones, and other times he took a step back, and it was Michael Gilchrist.
So, no, just to be clear,
it develops.
But just to be clear, you don't officially name captains then?
No.
Okay.
No,
that's why I want to be clear on that.
No, I never do.
So our good friend Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News put out their All-American list, and they had Alex Poythress as an All-American, which would obviously indicate at least this opinion, being that he would maybe be your best player. You've obviously seen these guys in workouts. Where is Poythress right now among these host of talented newcomers?
He's going to be really good. I think the surprise of the bunch will be Willie Cauley because people are going to say, who the heck is this guy? I never heard of him. And he's pretty darn good but he's out here proving he can play. The other guys are showing he can play. A lot of times guys are trying to prove they are what everybody thinks and they can't play as well, but he'll be fine. The guy the freshman who's playing the best for us right now is Archie Goodwin. So that's not to take away from Alex or anybody else. He's got a motor like Michael Kidd. So now you got a guy that's 6'5", and now he's going to be able to guard like what we did last year. the point guard was a problem. All of a sudden, he woke up the next morning, went to shoot around, and when we threw up the ball, he's looking at Michael Gilchrist saying, "Why are you guarding me?" And so the year before it was DeAndre Liggins. Now it appears it's going to be Archie Goodwin. And he plays with such a high motor that he'll drive practices. And he is probably playing better than anybody else right now on our team. And people aren't even talking about it. I mean, it's like, well, he's like an afterthought. Well, if you ask me right now, if you watch my team, you'd say that's who you want. I want that guy right there.
Hey, Cal, Wiltjer, obviously, he's a stretch four or he's a big three. The biggest question for you probably is defensively, how does he fit in? How do you plan to use him? He's the one guy, obviously, a returning player. You invested 11 minutes a game last year in him. How do you use a guy like that who can really shoot the basketball, stretch defense, probably more effective as a stretch four, but, has the ability to play three?
But I'll tell you what he can do. He's a terrific post-up player, too, and passer. He's a scorer. I'll be stunned if he's not scoring 14, 15, 16 a game for us. But it may not happen, but I would be stunned if he's not. Defensively, he's got shot blockers behind him. He's got some athletes behind him, so he should be okay. If we play any kind of zone with like a big team, like 7-foot Willie Cauley, 6'11 Nerlens, and 6'10 Kyle Wiltjer, if I put them all three in together, he'd probably be the middle of the zone because he doesn't move as well as those other two who are pretty active and athletic with their feet. But, I think he's fine, working hard, improving himself. His legs are getting stronger. There's a lot of good stuff going on. But, again, this thing here is a work in progress at best. We're going to run dribble drive. But, Seth, over the last 3 years, I've run it all kind of different ways, and it's become an ending or a transition. It's not really the primary offense. So we'll probably do something similar.
The one name we haven't mentioned yet, and I think could be one of the more intriguing names, and I remember watching him when Wright State went against Cincinnati. He was clearly the best player on the floor for Wright State, and that's Julius Maize. What has he shown you so far?
Well, the strides he's made because he was here this summer where we had 2 hours a week with him, where he also had the conditioning and training like never before. He always has the ability to make open shots, which we need a la Darius Miller coming off the bench. We needed a guy like that. But he's now added that tough layup shooter. He's a veteran kid, steady as the day is long, doesn't change. The guys love him. He gives us a veteran on the team, even though he wasn't on this team, and he's loving it. He says every day is something new. He's learning. It's a different way of playing, and it truly is. But for him, the way he shoots it, well, you got to one guard him, and if he has it, he's learning to be able to take bumps and shoot tough layups and get it over big guys. Because you think about it, in this practice, you're out there playing, and there's a 7-footer on each team. So you're driving in. There's somebody down in there now. And then you still have Kyle Wiltjer, and you have Alex, who has 7'2" wingspan and is about 6'7", 6'8". So you got big people in there to shoot layups over and have to do it. So, but again, we're ways away, but I'm excited. I just want to get started. Like, let's go. Throw the balls up. Let's go.
All right, Cal, I got to ask you this, and we've been friends for a long time. How do you deal with being John Calipari, like being a step ahead of the curve every which way, whether it's the new Wildcat Lodge, whether it's Fantasy Camp, or it's hanging out with Jay-Z and those guys? How do you do that?
Hold on. Let's talk about this lodge. The lodge is the greatest thing because everybody's now going nuts. Now, Seth, did we have a lodge before?
Yeah, but this is next level. This is like ESPN next level.
We've had a lodge for 30 years, the same number of beds. You know that chef that you saw? He was from the other one. He was already over there.
Yeah, but he wasn't giving Joe B. Hall the pound. I mean, come on, give me a break, Cal.
That's okay. So I should have had Joe B. Hall give the tour because it was his building. We put a statue of him up front. But the reality of it is, it's not about the bedroom. It ain't about a new locker room. These kids want to know about the green room. We're not getting kids because of a building or a block, or it's about relationships, and they know you care about them. You're about them. It's a players first program. It's nice that we have all this stuff to care about these kids. But it isn't as big an issue as everybody's saying. And it's not been made a big deal. But I'm telling you, a lot of people are like, well, we've had it for 30 years. We've had a lodge. And then just built. We moved from one that's 30 years old, time to build another one. That's what we did.
All right, now I got to be Debbie Downer just to close everything, John. Just looking for a final update, just to make sure if there's any eligibility issues with Nerlens Noel for starter practice on the 12th.
No, they go through, and Seth knows this. The top 15 players, maybe 20, they review. If you reclassified, Seth, it's a lock. What?
Yeah, they're going to go through.
They're going to review.
Exactly.
And he reclassified. So he's going through the review like all these other kids are, and we feel comfortable and confident. Our people have been in every meeting that they've had with everybody. So, look, it's a process you go through. The kid's not done anything, but you know what? Let it play out, and we feel confident and comfortable, and we'll go from there. But it's this stuff, a new season, it's not last year's teams. There were some ridiculously good teams last year. This year, there are really good teams. Let's see if it can be as good as last year. Because last year, Seth, would you agree? Andy, would you agree? Ridiculous. The top 8 teams were ridiculous.
Yes.
It could be that way this year, but the good news is it's going to have to develop into that. You're not starting the year off with an Ohio State and North Carolina. When you looked at us, you looked at Syracuse. There were teams when you started the season off were like, holy cow. And there were probably 5 or 6 others in the same boat. So this year I don't think that'll be the case, but I think what you're going to have is by the end of the year, teams are going to develop, and you're going to have, again, a group of 7 or 8 that stand out. I just hope we're one of them.
Cal, hey, good luck. I look forward to seeing you on the 9th. I'm going to be in the Barclays, so you, Vital, if I'm not mistaken, Jay-Z, and who else?
Well, there's Herb Gotti will be there. We'll have some other people, Magic Johnson, and we'll have some people. Drake's coming back in. He just was asking. He needed feet on the wood. Those guys don't like to sit anywhere but on the wood. So,
and then after that, they're playing Duke down in Atlanta, and I'll pick them up there at the Champions Classic. So you got Maryland and Duke to open the season. So
nice start, right?
Yes.
Nice start. What if we're 0-2? How about if we're 0-2?
Then your name is Tom Izzo, and you keep plowing ahead.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's a different Kentucky and Michigan are 2 different states. Let me just tell you. I'll have fun, though, and I'll tell you, I just want this team by the end of the year being their best. And if that's the case, who cares about the start even though we probably we know how hard those first 2 are going to be.
Yeah, people don't even remember November 9th and 13th by the time you get to March. I wouldn't sweat it.